I'm about to tell the story of what happened to me. I was injured on Saturday, and it is really one of the more painful things that I've ever gone through. And Nate, I particularly will want you to weigh in on this in a few minutes because I know you played 7 years in the NFL.
You had injuries.
Oh, here we go.
So I was out to dinner, pre-Father's Day dinner, Saturday night with my wife, and we came out of the restaurant, and the sun was really bright, and we start to walk toward where the car is parked, and there was a little tiny curb there. But I did not see that curb. I didn't trip on the curb. I stepped as though I were still going to step on solid ground, but I stepped off the curb and on, so about 2 inches.
I know that feeling.
I hate that.
And that caused me to fall to the ground on the concrete. And I did kind of a tuck and roll, I guess, because my right arm and shoulder are bruised up terribly, and I've got a big gash on my forearm on my right arm. But I got up, and some nice people helped me up, and my wife, of course, helped me up, and I got to the car, wasn't far away, and I felt kind of beat up, and I felt, geez, it hurts. By the time I got home, I could barely walk. I couldn't get out of the car very well. I tried and so my wife helped me to the house and went in and managed to, change my clothes and sit down and watch TV for a little while, drinking some whiskey because that always helps.
Always.
Yeah.
Then I went to
frontier
bed.
Well,
medicine.
you were really milking this thing, weren't you, Bill? Huh?
And so I went to bed, and I got up in the morning, and I couldn't get out of bed, and so my wife had to help me get out of bed, and she said, we're going to have to go to the hospital. And I said, oh, crap, come on, really? Yes, I think we better go to the hospital. It's Father's Day, and it's my wife's birthday.
Double whammy.
Yeah. So I said, I think I know what this seems like. It's a groin pull. I've never had one, but this has got to be what this is.
I didn't know you had a groin. This is news to me.
Gina, all God's children got all God's children got groins, okay? And that's your sign off.
Okay.
All God's
All right,
children
I'll write that
got
down.
groins. And so now we have stairs in our house, and I could not get downstairs. We had to call the EMTs, and they came and put me in this special chair and hauled me out of the house. And then they said, you want to go in the ambulance, or you could go in your own car if you want? I said, well, we'll go in our car. We're just going up to LDS
It's
Hospital.
cheaper to go in your car.
The paramedics are really nice, though. The EMTs are very nice. Yeah, I think it is cheaper.
Yeah.
They charge you for the ride.
Oh, yeah, they came to your house. You're going to get charged.
I know, but I think they would have charged me more for the ride.
Would have been an expensive Uber.
They ask you all kinds of questions. What medications are you taking, all of that. And I said, well, I take a blood thinner. And one of the EMTs said, well, why do you take a blood thinner? And I said, to thin my blood. What do you think?
Hey, man, I'm not a doctor. I'm just an EMT.
She thought that was, I was just being a smart ass. I thought at first I was going to make her mad or hurt her feelings, but she thought that was hilarious. I said, no, it's because I had a blood clot in my leg at one time. So anyway, go up to the hospital. My wife kept saying, we're going to be here all day, don't you?
Yep.
Oh,
There's
come
no
on, really?
quick trip to the hospital.
We go to the emergency room. We were there about 7 hours.
Yep.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy birthday.
And I hit the back of my head a little bit, and it didn't really hurt, but they said we better check because blood thinners, you could have a subdural hematoma. So they took scans of my head. They did They checked the groin area and all of that, and said there's no bone damage there. So I think you've strained your groin muscle. That's like I figured. And now, Nate, I know athletes get that. Happens to athletes fairly often, doesn't it?
It sure does. It's something that's happened to me actually every year going into training camp.
Oh my God!
In training camp starts in August, and so without fail, every training camp, I always strain my groin. And so they got to put this wrap around my leg, around my waist, just to keep that muscle intact. And yeah, so I feel for you, Bill. I'm sorry.
It's really painful. I mean, if I just try to reach for something, even it hurts. So anyway, but they gave me a walker, and I can sort of get around with that. And I gave my walker a name. I call it Texas Ranger. Get me the Texas Ranger.
Walker.
But the hospital staff was quite amused by that as well.